I don't think it's going to stay that way. I think it'll all settle down. It'll be fine someday. But listen, all ideologies, all revolutions eventually burn out. But sometimes it just takes a long time.
And maybe with huge changes to how the families are actually running.
Yeah, we don't know where this is going with families. I mean, technology's proceeding at such a pace. I don't know where we're going to be with families. Maybe we'll have they'll get to where you can have a baby without having a male component. Like, are they already doing something like that with animals? Like where you can have
the experiments on artificial placenta.
yeah, stuff like that. I mean, who knows?
So biologically, in the extreme theory, you need neither sex.
Yeah, there's going to be a debate in 2 weeks in Toronto, and the topic of the debate is, are men necessary? And it's going to be debated by 4 women, Hannah Rosen, Maureen Dow, sorry, I can't remember the 2 others, but it's actually going to be a serious debate.
But the only thing really that's a barrier both ways is basically the placenta and some pretty complex biochemistry.
Well, anyways, yeah. I'm glad I won't live long enough to see all this.
Okay, next question. I'm really glad you brought up the point that in university, I'm at the University of Ottawa right now, and I was told that being a conservative thinker, my ideas wouldn't necessarily be the popular ones on campus, and I didn't necessarily, I knew it was going to be true, but I didn't realize really what people were saying until I got on campus, and the first poster I saw was join the Marxist Club. And I'm really glad you brought it up because I do believe it's an issue, and as far as I can say, you can go as far as say it's almost an epidemic on campuses around Canada, around the United States. But my question to you is, do you think we can go back to a time where people aren't necessarily judged about their different ideas, a time where thinkers of the right will be accepted again to universities? I've been fortunate enough to have a professor who's fairly neutral on these issues, but I have heard of a lot of different friends who the right-wing ideas are completely censored in the classroom. So do you think that we can go back to a time where both sides of the argument are accepted in universities?
I'd like to think that. I'm not very good at predictions, so I really don't know. I think universities are going to undergo a real change in any case. They're unsustainable as they are now, with having every single person having the right to go to university. I think we're going to see a rise more in e-learning, like electronic learning, more vocational schools. I think universities are actually going to shrink and become more humble places than they have been. And I can't imagine that this tension of one point of view prevailing all the time, it has to somehow burn itself out, because when these professors die off, the truly revolutionary ones, I can't see in 50 years that there's going to be the same paradigm. It has to change.
Thank you. Good question.
Well, I think that's a question, and I really like you talking about the importance of your father. I think there's really something about fathers and daughters, and that having a strong father figure has an incredible impact on the girls who are lucky enough to have a positive father in their lives.
Thank you, and I really agree. I got to tell you something that actually made a huge impression on me. I think that when girls do not have fathers in their lives, they are far more likely to be promiscuous. They are far less likely to be able to form intimate partnerships that are, where there's respect and all that. And they're also far less likely to have self-esteem. I think strong fathers give their daughters high self-esteem. And I just got to tell you one anecdote. I read somewhere, somebody was asking, these pimps that go to the bus stations to see runaway girls, like they come to the bus station, and pimps go there so that they can pick up girls and everything. And somebody once asked a pimp, how do you know which are the girls that are vulnerable, that will listen to you, that you can pick up easily? He says, it's very simple. He says, if I go over to them and I say, you're very pretty. And the ones that have confidence they look you straight in the eye and say thank you. He says, they're not for me. I go to the one that when I say, you're very pretty, she looks down and she says, no, I'm not. He says, then I know I've got her. Isn't that a telling anecdote? And the girl that looks you straight in the eye and says, thank you very much, she has a strong father. Who's been telling her all along, you're great, you're terrific. The polite ones say thank you. I was not brought up to say off to people.
At the same time, we've sort of somehow gone overboard in the self-esteem market.
Oh, yes. That's so true.
It's the most important thing that you could do nothing and you have to have this congratulations.
Well, real self-esteem obviously comes from earning it, and we know that. I mean, you can't give somebody self-esteem, for sure.
No, but somebody values you, it gives you an
Oh, no, it gives you confidence. I think it's self-confidence. Absolutely. That comes from being valued by your parents, both your parents, yes.
Flora.
Miss Kay, my name is Flora Katz. My claim to fame tonight is that I attended that 40th anniversary high school reunion with Fred 2 weeks ago. Miss Kay, first of all, thank you for your wonderful writing over many years. You're a hero in my family.
Oh, that's so nice.
And I was hoping perhaps you arrived a little bit late. You may have spoken about the Quebec Charter of Values. This to me is, and to all of us I would imagine, is a very compelling issue. I was hoping in your comments you might reflect on how fascinating it is in light of in the evolution of the feminist movement in Canada, how it's the feminist movement is now some marched, a couple of Sharon, turn off the phone.
Can't find it.
Who marched just last Friday, saying that they're standing up for the very women who say that they feel freer under this veil, under this mask. And there are a few in the group who actually prefer to wear it because perhaps with a concealed identity they can be and behave any way they want to. But for we who have worked so devilishly hard, men and women in Canada, for openness, dialogue, forthcoming communication, so much of which is imperative in the facial muscles, it's almost inconceivable that Sharia law nearly passed in Ontario 2-3 years ago, and that this whole debate about whether or not one should walk and work in schools and the police services and hospitals wearing a facial covering, where dialogue and communication is so important, or even in primary school.
I know. I'm so, the niqab for me is just like, it gives me, I actually, it's like chocolate blackboard for me, I can't stand it. And it's too bad. I'm sorry, did you finish? Did you want
Well, I just wanted to know how you would propose that we reconcile those who are pro the wearing of the niqab or the hijab versus the burqa versus the hijab, which is just the head covering, and the women, both on the extreme left and the extreme right, who support that as a liberating element.
Yeah, it's bullshit, this liberating thing, and they know it. There was an anthropologist went to there's a little island somewhere in the Pacific, and there's a primitive people there, and an anthropologist went there in 1857. He recorded his experiences there, and it's called Kowloon, Kaulong, and the women there was a practice in this group, in these people, and the practice was that when a woman's husband died, she would be strangled to death by the man's relatives, his male relatives. This was their practice. And if the men didn't want to strangle her, she would make fun of them that they had their manhood, that they weren't true men, because they would not strangle her, because that was the custom, you see. Are these women liberated? Are they, are these free women? People who talk about the niqab as being freely chosen do not know what they're talking about. because any woman that would choose to wear a mask on her face has been brainwashed, and it's the same as the women in Kowloon thinking that they ought to be strangled when their husbands die. So this whole discussion on the Charter of Values, to me, it's unfortunate that the niqab was lumped in with the hijab and the yarmulke and all these other things. If Bill 94 had passed, which it should have, which banned only the niqab in public service, I think you'd get 90% of people would say that is fabulous. And in fact, across Canada, there was very wide acceptance for Bill 94, which would ban face masks. This is a mask, it is not an article of clothing. It has nothing to do with religion, and even if it has to do with religion, I don't care. In a free society, you do not cover the face, and that's it. But the other stuff, the hijab, I don't care if people wear the hijab. If they want to wear a bandana on their hair, and it's like, if they want to be uncomfortable, that's their business. It doesn't do it. It doesn't take away from their ability to have a relationship with someone else. And if it's a custom and they want to wear it, it's nothing to me. I don't care. And it shouldn't be, it's of no consequence. It may very well, in many cases, indicate an ideological mindset. I don't say that it doesn't. But in a free society, we have no right to interfere with that. It may indicate that this woman is not considered an equal in her family. That's too bad for us, but by forcing her not to wear the hijab is not going to make her unequal in her family. And it's not going to, it looks good in society not to have hijabs maybe, but I'm against anything to do with any of the stuff except that. That has to go. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Do the barricades.
Well, it was funny. Last night we had a discussion on freedom of speech, and it was an amazing panel discussion. Joseph Benamy was on the panel, and Joseph made the point, his position, paraphrasing him, he said, well, you know what, here's the problem I have is that he did not want to ban the burqa and the other coverings. He said, you're treating a symptom. The problem is that you can remove the burqa, but there's that underlying philosophy.
Well, in the meantime,
that is the real problem. That's
the
real problem.
Yeah, it is. But it's not up to us to solve the real problem tomorrow. What it is up to us is to say to those people, we are taking away the symbol of the real problem. You deal with